everybody, and welcome to this live stream. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Amber Rose, also known as the Religious Hippie. You can basically follow me on any social media platform, or you can go straight to my website at thereligioushippie.com. So, I have had this idea for this video for a while, or live stream, I guess. I don't really do videos much anymore. And this is something that's really been going back and forth for me. I'm like, should I make a video on it? Should I not? Because kind of like my fan base is a little bit not fan base, what is it? My friends. Yeah, my friends. And like a lot of the followers who I know kind of split into two different parts. Like some of them love Taylor Swift, some of them hate Taylor Swift, others are pretty neutral about it. But I mean, for myself, I wanted to kind of just share my own experiences of growing up with her music and where it is now and what I do about it now and why I don't really listen to her anymore. I yes, subscribers. Perfect. Thank you, Alex. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to do this video is because I think there are a lot of people who don't understand the gravity of what they listen to and how much it truly does impact them, and how what we consume, whether it's food or content, how it impacts our lives and how it shapes the way we view God, our world, our friends, our relationships, even. And yes, Amanda, perfect. Thank you so much for calling that out. It is Our Lady of Fatima's feast day today. So happy Our Lady of Fatima's feast day. So excited for that. But yeah, so welcome everybody. We're going to kind of just hop in here right away because I don't see any reason why we have to delay, except for the fact that I drank all of my iced coffee before this live stream started. And now I'm very sad about that. Hopefully that didn't mess up my microphone. Can you guys still hear me okay? Hopefully that didn't destroy my microphone. We'll find out. But yeah, so this is a video I've been wanting to do for a little while. Some people have been asking me my opinion on Taylor Swift. So I, I just want to say right off the bat, what I'm doing is I'm not criticizing her specifically. I am criticizing the things she's done and her music, because I also think that kind of ties into her. But again, with celebrities, we don't really know who they are behind the scenes. We don't know what struggle she's going through, etc. And a lot of that stuff can come through music, but we don't know these people personally. So it's important to remember that we always need to give the benefit of the doubt personally on her end, and to make sure we're praying for her. But we're going to make these judgments and things based off of the things she's previously done, her concerts, etc. So that's kind of where we're going to start, is just with my background with her. So I grew up on Taylor Swift. I grew up singing horribly off key to most of her songs, like You Belong With Me, Fearless, Sparks Fly, like a bunch of different songs. I was raised on those songs. So even though my parents definitely raised me on a lot of, oh my gosh, a lot of country and a lot of classic rock and roll, I was raised on Styx and REO Speedwagon. They also recognized that we needed good music role models that were our age, that weren't old guys or whoever else was around at that time. So they thought Taylor Swift was like a perfect role model. And at that time, she really was. She had Christian values. She came from, I think she was from Tennessee. She was known as America's sweetheart. She had a lot of just really sweet and very kind and very artistic things about her that made her very appealing to the younger generations. And, she really inspired me too, because being so young and being a singer songwriter, it inspired me to also start playing guitar and singing and writing my own songs. That, and also I had a crush on a guy when I was 14. We don't have to get into that, but he was an atheist and he was really a really good guitarist, and he had red hair, and I was obsessed. We don't need to get into that. But that was another reason I started writing my own songs and reading. And it ended up being like a really good outlet for me, because I didn't express myself very well emotionally. I kept a lot of stuff in. I was going through a lot of things in high school, getting bullied. And I never really knew who I could trust and stuff. And music was kind of that outlet for me where I could express what I was feeling, deeply feeling, without having to actually own that emotion. Because if you're crying or something, people are like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? What's wrong? But if you're singing, a song from My Chemical Romance or something, you're just like, "Oh, it's just a song I like from My Chemical Romance, it's no big deal." Um, so I definitely think, oh, well, Alex, sometimes it happens like that. But for me, I really used music as an outlet, and so Taylor Swift was one of those artists that I felt like I could relate to because even though at that time I was probably like, I don't know how old she is now, probably like 12 years younger than her. I'm at least 10 plus years younger than her. But I definitely, or not 10, maybe 8. I don't do math. I don't do math. But I definitely thought that she was one of those people that was very talented, very gifted, very beautiful. I also just love that meme that circulates once a year of her throwing a couch off of the stage. I think that that's amazing. So yeah, basically she's I basically 10 plus years younger than her. Um, but anyways, I don't exactly remember when the change started happening specifically. I am not a huge Swiftie fan. I never, even though I really liked her music and I really followed her story, I was never one of those people who was like a diehard fan or always had to keep up with the news. Who was she dating? I was never one of those people. I liked music, but I never really got into the people who did the music. I was more into just the music itself. I never wanted to go to any of her concerts. I never wanted to do any of that stuff, which is probably rare at that time for like 14-year-olds and stuff. But at the time, I didn't really like it. I liked her music, but I didn't like it enough to want to actually go out and seek her out or know about her life or be in a concert or go to a concert. So I never really knew exactly when the change started. Cue JoJo Siwa. Nobody's made this drastic of a change before. So I think I started really noticing it during her Reputation album. I never really followed her music that closely, so I could be off. You guys might have noticed it a lot sooner than that, but I noticed it during her Reputation album. I don't know what songs exactly. I remember Bad Blood was a song that came out too. I don't know if that was on her Reputation album, but after that one, and I watched the Reputation concert that they had on, I think it was Netflix at the time. And I remember specifically looking at it, and at this time I wasn't Catholic at all, but I was like, this seems really dark and edgy and very sexual as well. So for me, I was like, I don't know if I like this new Taylor Swift. I understand that like you have to keep reimagining yourself in order to stay relevant in today's day and age with the kids that are just constantly getting bored with artists. I mean, have you think of any female artists or any male artist really that is still relevant today from when you were a teenager or a kid? There aren't very many. I can't really think of any who are still as popular today and putting out new music today as it was, uh, when I was a kid. I mean, I remember Selena Gomez was really big. Um, eh, that's all I got. But she's not really making music anymore that I'm aware of. And so Taylor Swift is the only one that I've known since I was really young, and she's consistently reinventing herself to stay relevant. And it's a brilliant move. I mean, if you think about it, business wise, if you're constantly reinventing yourself, it's basically a new person, you know, each year. And so because of that, you can mold yourself to fit every single generation. Um, and so that's how she's able to stay so relevant and so many different generations are just so attached to her. For millennials and older Gen Z, it's probably the Fearless Speak Now albums. But even in folklore, she was you know, uh, catering to Gen Z who's going back to like those earthy, folky kind of feeling, nostalgia almost. So for me, I'm like, okay, so she can really almost like shapeshift, not really obviously, but shapeshift in order to stay relevant with any generation, right? So that was always interesting to me. And I have a little script here so I don't go on too many tangents, so I stay on task here. But I don't think it was really until her album Midnights came out, I think that was 2 years ago now, that I really started thinking about it and started realizing, you know, that she had a lot of feminist ideologies. She has a lot of victim, mentality. And she has a lot of, anti Christian themes too. And I never really paid attention to the lyrics, but I remember I was on my way home once. It was really late at night. My producer texted me saying that, oh, Taylor Swift just released her new Midnight album at midnight. And it was midnight at the time. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll give it a listen because I don't remember exactly why. I'd never kept up with any of Taylor Swift's albums previously, but I think it's because I I was driving and it was really late and it's like, okay, it's new music. I'll see what it is. So Anti-Hero was very popular, but so was Karma, the song Karma. And the more I listened to the music that, she put out on Midnights, and the more I actually paid attention to what she was saying, the more I realized she's really feeding this victim mentality, this feminist ideology, this anti-Christian theme throughout all of her music. Not all of her music, of course, it was more recent. And so that's something that I really started paying more attention to, and then it was more obvious, those themes were more obvious in her most recent album release, The Tortured Poets Department. Um, and it was just interesting because once Midnights came out, the tidal wave that was Taylor Swift suddenly swept the world. And to me, honestly, I don't even think Midnights was that good. Personally, I didn't think, and that's not me trying to be like, oh, I don't like Taylor Swift, I'm trying to be quirky. No, I just didn't think it was her best work. I think she's done a lot of songs that were really good. And I think that Anti-Hero was a good song, but you could tell that Midnights was just a bunch of songs from her previous albums that didn't make the cut. Like, you could just tell that certain songs like Anti-Hero belonged in Reputation. I think it was Lavender Haze belongs in Lover. Like, there were certain songs you could just pick and it was crazy. So, I just noticed after Midnights, it was like her entire music career just took a major it just went up. And I don't know why that was. I don't know. I feel like there was no reason for it to do that because of Midnights. Maybe it's because of the publicity. Maybe it's because she did a lot of advertisements for it. She was very creative in that way. She was able to drop like little hints for her fans who are like super fans to figure out these things and mysteries and whatever. And so maybe that was the reason it ended up being so popular. But yeah, to me, it just wasn't her best work. And then we don't even have to really dive into this too much, but I will say she has this cult like following. I know a lot of people have said this over the years, and I think it's only gotten worse the last year or two. Really, since COVID, I feel like it's gotten pretty bad. But now it's like you can't say anything bad about Taylor Swift. They're going to pull out their pitchforks and their torches, and they're going to defend her till the end. And there have been multiple situations where, I mean, I'm not going to really get into all of it because I'm not a huge fan here. I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, I did all this research onto Taylor Swift. This is just stuff that I've heard over the years and that I've watched videos on or put them on in the background or heard news about. Where the whole issue with Scooter, you guys remember, she originally had Scooter and she claimed that he was stealing her songs and she wanted liberty from him. And so she had to re record all of her songs, which is why there's Taylor version. Well, that was all set up, and she knew about it when she first got signed with that record label back in Tennessee. And she ended up making Scooter's life complete hell because his whole family had to go into hiding because of her fan base. The fact that his kids got death threats and all of this because she went on social media and kind of construed it and manipulated this different type of narrative. And she played victim. Again, the whole victim mentality. She can do no wrong. It's everybody else's fault. And her whole fan base is willing to just basically kill somebody. Not really, but but they feared for their life and they had to go into hiding because of this. And it's just so odd to me how loyal but creepily loyal her fan base is. And so that's something that I never really liked. I never liked her fan base. They were always like diehard fans in the worst way possible. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, I really like her music, but if she does something wrong, like obviously it's wrong. It's like, no, Taylor Swift can do no wrong. Taylor Swift's a god. Like Taylor Swift, Taylor Swift. It's like, no, that is such a dangerous mentality to have. But I also think because, God has been removed from society so much, they're trying to find a replacement for him. And unfortunately, they're filling that hole with Taylor Swift. And she is obviously failing because she is not God. And then there's the other side. People argue all the time whether or not Taylor Swift sold her soul to the devil. I want to say this because a lot of people don't understand this, but she you can't sell your soul to the devil. People kind of don't understand this mentality. You can't sell your soul to the devil because you don't own your soul. Your soul belongs to God, right? It belongs to God. However, you can sell your will to the devil. So you can be in mortal sin, completely severed off from God, and you can do the whole blood ritual, whatever the heck they do. I don't even know if it needs to go that far. To be honest, just committing a mortal sin is enough to get you possessed. So I don't even know if the blood rituals are necessary. You can break a contract with the devil anytime by going to confession. You are not bound by that. So people always speculate about that. I'm not going to say it's here or there because there's no real proof of it either way. I definitely think Hollywood in general is evil. And so I wouldn't put it past people in Hollywood to sell their soul. Doja Cat is one of those people where I'm definitely there and it's interesting. Um but she's one of the people where I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe she did do something there. Taylor Swift, I just think that she's a little naive. She's trying to get rid of her good girl image because being bad and sexy and stuff is so cool now and cursing and everything. Um, and that's something that a lot of Disney stars go through. I know she's not a Disney star, but it's like they had the good girl image and now they're an adult and now they want to shed that image so that they look more mature. But in reality, it just ends up looking more trashy and a little bit scandalous. And yeah. So I have no evidence of her selling her soul either way. Again, it's not selling your soul, it's selling your will. But seeing how she started and where she is today, she definitely has demonic influences. Now, this is a quote from uh who is it? Father Dan Rehill. If you guys know Father Dan Rehill, he is an exorcist and he's talked about this a few times. I am more inclined to believe an exorcist over somebody else. And while I don't think we need to be extremely paranoid, I definitely do believe that we need to be careful about what we consume. So, this is what he said about Taylor Swift and her concerts. The problem with the concert is that whether Taylor Swift knew she was trying to imitate witches or was doing some kind of occult ceremony during the show, it's sort of irrelevant to the demons. She is an incredibly talented and influential artist, and so the demons will keep note of what she's doing and how she's doing it and who she's influencing. So when they're doing these rituals with these orbs and black capes that look like something you would find out in the woods, even if her intent was not to practice witchcraft or to do any of the incantations, she is probably attracting a lot of demons to her concerts, and that's where the problem lies. There are a lot of little girls who literally sort of worship her and are putting themselves in a position where they could be attacked by demonic forces. Now, there are a few different people who have kind of talked about this, but I think out of all of them, Father Dan was really spot on. 100% AJ, Matt, yes, I think he was spot on with this because again, we don't know Taylor Swift's heart. I'm not here to judge her heart. I'm not here, but also in the Tortured Poets department, she had that lyric, something about they'll pray and try to save me, but they have to save themselves, something really weird. So she does have some anti-Christian themes throughout her music. But the thing is that that's what's selling in Hollywood these days too. So I'm not here to judge her heart. I am here to judge her actions. And we have to make those judgments. So I definitely think that it's important that we take into an account what an exorcist is saying about this, because let's be honest, who knows demonology or demons better than an exorcist? Probably the people in Hollywood. Just saying, because the people in Hollywood are actively invoking demonic things, and they're constantly doing evil, and we just see all the horrible things that come out of Hollywood these days, all the blasphemies, all the anti-Catholic and anti-Christian in general movies. And it's just really unfortunate, but we definitely need to be uh, we need to be vigilant in what we're allowing into our lives. So it seems to me that so many people have become obsessed with Taylor Swift, like I kind of mentioned earlier, that they're starting to view her almost as like a godlike figure, um, which is really stupid. But many people, I mean, many people might deny this who are not like diehard fans, but for those who are constantly just obsessed with her life, trying to figure out what she believes, literally trying to become her, buying similar outfits. There are people, it's almost like the Kardashian thing. Remember when people were getting like plastic surgery to look like Kim Kardashian and people were doing all of that? It's so important that we we do not put celebrities or anything else for that matter. This goes for money, this goes for work, this goes for other people. We don't put anything or anyone above God. And so many people do this, including Catholics who are really creepily obsessed with her. And I've seen it. I'm not talking about the people who are like, oh, I like her music here or there. I'm talking about the people that are obsessed with her relationship. They're constantly posting about it. They're always looking at her news. It's scary. Yes, it's totally scary, Em. And it's just very interesting. Yes, EJ. Her fan base sees her as a deity almost, and it's creepy. And if I was her, I'd be creeped out. I wouldn't be like, "Oh yeah, this is so cool." I'd be like, "This is a little weird. Please don't do that." But the issue is because in a sense, when you're in Hollywood, you have to have a certain amount of narcissism in order to just survive. You slowly start believing that. And then what's narcissism? It's basically a lack of God, where you put yourself above God because you think you're thebomb.com. You think you're better than Betty White. You're the best thing since Betty White. So then what happens is you slowly start believing that, and then you slowly start putting God out of your life, right? So I definitely think that people need to be open to the fact that uh, what we consume does impact us. Um, what was the other point I wanted to make? Oh yeah, there's a lot of other issues outside of the satanic things. Whether or not, again, those satanic things are on purpose, it's still not good. Demons don't care about your intention. If you're doing an evil act, guess what? It's still an evil act. Demons don't care. But the other issues is she promotes abortion. She has that feminist ideology and anti-Christian values, like I mentioned earlier. And and on top of that, she's an avid supporter of the LGBTQ agenda. And then she gets involved with politics. This is my personal opinion: is that celebrities should not be involved in politics. You are there to entertain, and you have such a huge fan base. You should not be manipulating those people based off of who you are to sway politics one way or another. Be the entertainer, do not be the politician. Because so many of them often use their pull, the amount of pull that they have in society to lead young people astray. And then what ends up happening is those young people don't even know why they're voting for so and so, or why they're against this or against that, but it's because, Taylor Swift said it, or Olivia Rodrigo said it, or who's the other big one these days? Sabrina Carpenter. Like, oh, these people get involved with politics, and so because I like this person, I'm going to do this, even though that might not be my value, because I associate my values with this person so deeply, even though I don't know them personally and they don't have good morals. But because I like their music and I'm emotionally attached to them, I am going to 100% just follow with whatever they say. So those are a lot of the reasons why I stopped following her and listening to her music. And just in general, I don't think her music's very good anymore. I still like some of her old music. If one of the old bops come on, or if some of her music comes on the radio or something, I don't mind keeping it on as long as it's nothing like specifically anti-Christian or something like that. But my thing is that it's not weird to protect your morals and to protect your conscience. Because so many times we become so, what's the term I want to use? What's the term? Just desensitized. We're so desensitized to everything these days that if somebody says anything bad about somebody, instead of critically thinking about that situation and thinking, yeah, actually, maybe what Taylor Swift said or did there is not good. Instead of that, it's instant like, how could you say that? You're so judgmental. Like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Like, she's one of the sweetest people ever, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Even with me, though, I constantly tell you guys, do your own research. Know that I'm probably going to be hypocritical sometimes. Know that I'm human. I struggle, etc. So, of course, there's going to be situations like that. But we also need to critically think for ourselves and not become so emotionally attached to an artist or an actor that it warps the way we view the world, but it also kind of hinders our conscience. Because now all of a sudden, because so and so likes it and because we want to associate with so and so, we now have to think this ideology, or now we think this is good or bad, etc. We saw that with Olivia Rodrigo handing out contraceptions at her concerts, right? So if we're constantly around people, or if we're constantly watching or listening to things that are pro-feminist, victim mentality, anti-God, etc., we slowly become that. We slowly start believing that. And it really molds how we think and how we view the world and how we view God. Sure, her songs are catchy. Yes, she's very talented. But is she worth bending your morals for and wrecking your conscience? Is it really worth it for a catchy song? And you probably don't even realize it, but there are things you have internalized from music, from her, from other people, that makes you believe a certain thing or feel a certain way about a situation or a person or a friendship or how the world is today. I will say from personal experience, I listened to her music a lot growing up and before I came back into the faith, and even while I was still in the faith. It wasn't really until last year that I stopped listening to her music altogether. But I will say that it totally changed the way that I viewed my relationships. I viewed myself as the victim. I could do no wrong. Everybody was wrong about but me. I was super catty about everything. I was backstabby. Not so much when I actually came back into my faith, but I was in a relationship with a non-Catholic for a while, and at that time, and I was always just like, I never wanted to take responsibility for the issues that I caused. I I was like a girl boss. I did it myself. Feminist ideology. I don't need a man. You're just here because I like you, so you're here. Whatever, and so I stopped listening to her music last year, and I found that I had more patience. I started reflecting inward on myself and thinking, okay, how could I have handled that situation better? I wasn't the center of attention all the time, and I realized the world didn't revolve around me. And I stopped being the victim and I started taking responsibility for things that were 100% my fault instead of letting my pride come up and be like, I've done all I can do. It's this person's fault. Like, I'm the best person ever and they just treated me horribly and blah 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 blah. No. It's like I'm taking responsibility. And now, is that all because I cut out Taylor Swift? No. Obviously it comes with working on yourself, growing in grace and making these changes. You have to actively want to change. But I did notice that when I didn't have Taylor Swift whispering in my ear that I'm a victim and everyone wronged me and all men are bad and da 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 da, I found it so much easier to grow in humility and to work on myself when I didn't have her whispering in my ear, or any other artist for that reason. So, if you're constantly being told something, you start to believe it. And for me, because I started listening to a lot of her bad girl songs, I slowly started to believe that I was that person. I viewed myself and imagined myself in these situations. And you know what? Actually, I was talking about this with my close friends, Emma and Nolan. And I love them. They're just cannot speak highly enough of them. But we were kind of talking about this because what happens is it gets stuck in these women's minds because they view themselves in these situations. It's so relatable that they just latch onto it. And because they associate a specific time in life with this song or a specific situation, or even a completely made up situation in their head with this song, they slowly become narcissists and feminists without even realizing it. And it's so interesting to me because I have friends, or had friends actually. This was back in high school, so I still think I'm in high school, whatever. This was back in high school, and I was only in high school for 2 years. So, when I was in high school, I had these friends, never heard of Taylor Swift before, very sheltered, whatever. I introduced them to Taylor Swift because I was like, "Oh, whatever," and they had very conservative values, etc. They became diehard Taylor Swift fans, and basically overnight, their morals changed, their conscience changed. They were suddenly pro abortion, they were pro liberal, they were pro feminist, all of these things. And now they go to women marches and things like that. And they support different political people based off of who Taylor Swift says she supports. I know. I know, Matt. I know. So, me thinking, "Oh, it's not that big of a deal. I'm just gonna introduce them to some, you know, cool music or whatever." They are now hardcore feminists, and I believe one has had abortion. So, it's very sad. And we don't know about Taylor Swift's, personal life, but again, we definitely need to still pray for her. We need to pray for a lot of celebrities. I think so many of them are hurting and so many of them need prayers, whether they accept them or not. And Taylor Swift obviously is very hostile, not hostile, um, un. She doesn't want to receive prayers. She's kind of made that very obvious. Um, but I definitely think, praying for their conversion and fasting and offering up penances for celebrities is really important. I mean, how many celebrities have converted already? Quite a few, and hopefully more are to come. Um, so I don't know. While this kind of all goes for all the content we consume, I wanted to talk about Taylor because of her cult following and everyone's obsessed with her and she's the primary focus of almost everything these days. I can't go one day without scrolling and seeing Taylor Swift. But this also applies to TV shows. This applies to movies and books. It applies to basically anything we're consuming that's content. Also, watch what you eat too, because that's important too. Cut out seed oils. But I think we always need to be vigilant about what we're consuming because the devil already has a huge foothold in so many people's lives. You don't need to give him another. And I think that is so important. So I think if, we pray for these people and we don't support their bad decisions or bad music, it's really important. Um, and so I definitely think when it comes down to it, these people need prayers, definitely. Um, and I don't know who told me this. I forget. It was a friend of mine, but he said that every month he would put in a request for the priest at his church to say a mass for a major celebrity. And I always thought that was very interesting. I'm like, I'd never thought to do that. Like, you never really think to do things like that. Um, and so I think it's really important that we keep in mind they are human. I think that's something that gets warped a lot. And, a celebrity I always felt bad for, I tweeted about this not too long ago. A celebrity that I grew up watching that I've always felt so bad for was Britney Spears. I mean, just that image of her trying to seek shelter in a restaurant from the paparazzi with her child and then not receiving any help, like she's breaking down in a booth, and then the restaurant owner just starts taking photos of her. I have always, always felt so bad for Britney Spears, and I have always prayed for her conversion. And it seemed like she was close at one point, but I just think she has been so manipulated and from drugs and the amount of abuse that she suffered at the hands of these people in Hollywood and her own father and her parents and everything else going on. Everyone that should have protected her didn't. And, that's coming out now, but the damage is done mentally for her. I mean, we see these videos of her and she is just absolutely just looks it's very it's very sad to see because she is clearly not mentally well. And whether that was from the you know the drugs or the abuse or whatever it is, um I just find it interesting, you know what I mean? So I definitely think prayers are just really, really important. And, it doesn't cost anything to pray for somebody. And I would think about, what if I was in that situation? If I, not that I would be, but if I was a major celebrity, a lot of the times people don't think to pray for these people because they're so much in the public eye that we're just so desensitized to seeing them and hearing about them. We don't really believe that they're real people sometimes. And I see that happening often. And that's kind of happened throughout my whole childhood. Um, it's just very interesting. So I just think that that's something we all kind of need to keep at the forefront of our minds. But that's basically my 2 cents on all of this. And I just want to make sure that you guys understand Taylor Swift's still a real person. She needs our prayers. She needs healing, honestly. I'm sure she's in a lot of pain because she also had a huge breakup. But again, she plays the victim, and I think that people who play the victim, eventually it catches up with them. And I don't know if she's there yet, but I just pray that eventually her fan base figures it out and they can start thinking for themselves. And that just goes for any celebrity. I don't think any celebrity should have like die-hard obsessed fans. It's just not healthy. And if you're a die-hard fan of anybody, you're putting them above God, and that's not okay. That's idolatry, whether you intend for it to be that way or not. And I definitely think that at the end of the day, we all have um our issues, and we just need to make sure that what we're consuming and what we're putting into our minds and our bodies and our souls is good, and it glorifies God. That doesn't mean you constantly have to listen to worship music or you constantly have to listen to Gregorian chant. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that the majority of your content should be wholesome that you're consuming. It shouldn't be super anti-Catholic. It shouldn't be curse words. It shouldn't be about sex, etc. And that's something that's very hard because I loved country music growing up. And now it's all about cut off jeans, skimpy outfits, getting drunk on Saturday, going to church on Sunday, having sex, one night stands, etc. And it's so hard to see where the music industry has gone. And I think Gen Z is getting really, really fed up with how saturated sexual things are in the culture. And I noticed that there has been a decline in sex and TV shows and stuff like that. I think that they said it was like a 40% decline, because, uh, you know, the decline because Gen Z is just getting fed up with it. They don't want to see it anymore. Um, and yeah, Father Stew had a lot of swearing in it, which I did not like. I went to go see Father Stew, and the swearing really did bother me. I did a whole video about it as to why I didn't like that. But I think the story of Father Stew was good. I just thought the swearing was completely unnecessary. I wouldn't have minded a, a a curse here or there if it helps tell the story better, but I don't think any story needs to be told with curse words. I think you can accurately convey a story about a person who is on the road to sainthood or who's died or a very holy person without including curse words. We saw that with the Padre Pio movie with Shia LaBeouf, and things like that. We know that Padre Pio never would have cursed. And so things like that, we have to understand that despite the fact Hollywood might be putting out certain movies, they still are very anti-God, anti-Catholic. And so we definitely need to be vigilant even about Catholic movies coming out of Hollywood. And I say, honestly, sometimes don't even bother. Go back to the classics. The Song of Bernadette, the Fatima movie, the original Fatima movie, The Miracle Worker. All of these old movies that really captured Catholicism, maybe not in the best quality, because the quality of the obviously is very uh it was filmed back in like the 19 however 20s, 1930s, whatever. It was a long time ago. But that has a better story and is better for kids to watch than a lot of these modern Catholic movies coming out. Um I know that they had the PG-13 version of Father Stew where they edited the swearing out, which I was really glad that Mel Gibson did that. I think that was very important. I think that they should have done that to begin with. I think the PG-13 version should have been released, and then, they released the R version. But I personally, again, I didn't think it was necessary to convey the story of Father Stew. A lot of people said, like, well, I came from the hood, I came from here or there, and it really helped me connect. Why do you need cursing to connect with a character? Why can't you just connect with him because he was in a bad spot? Like, why is the cursing the part that connects you with the character? Because again, a curse is the opposite of a blessing. And I don't think you need to curse. And people are like, oh, well, this is the real world. I don't think the real world needs to have vulgarity. I don't think the real world should have that. I think the only reason there is vulgarity in the real world is because of sin. And we shouldn't want that. We shouldn't be promoting that or going for that type of content. And so yeah, I think cursing is a part of the real world, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it should be the norm. I don't think it should be something we're constantly promoting. And I just think that over time, you know, we need to understand that we can connect with people and we don't need profanity to do it. So that's just kind of like my 2 cents. But anyways, guys, that's it for this live stream. I hope you guys enjoyed, and please let me know in the comments below what you guys think, because I'm always interested in your own thoughts, because I know people will watch this later. But love you guys, always praying for you guys. Please keep me in your prayers, and don't forget to follow me on social media at The Religious Hippie. Official website, thereligioushippie.com. I have a bunch of merch items on there, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye, guys. Have a great rest of your day.